This is episode 2, and now we're going to craft the soundscape. Our goal for today is to craft a unique palette of soundscapes and assemble a set of working tools tailored for the song. Now, there's no wrong way to go about this. This is just how I'm going to navigate the project. I'm thinking that it might be a good idea to break everything down to fundamental elements while I'm searching for sounds, such as drums, bass, keys, synths, leads, lo-fi sounds, etc. When selecting the sounds, I'll be evaluating them for their sonic characters and also their ease of use, because we do have time restraints and we don't want technicalities to get in the way of our creativity. I think you should define what you're looking for before you start looking for it, so you don't start opening plugins and flipping through presets without any direction. That's great. There's time for that, but we actually have a vision, right? So for this track, I'm thinking that I'll need some like 808 or 909s for that electric sound. Probably some acoustic drum sounds for vibe and feel. Something light and snappy that I can use as an alternative to a hi-hat. And let's see, probably some claps and shakers, right? I'm going to want all those things assembled right there in front of me so that when I'm doing the arrangement, it doesn't disrupt the creative process. Okay, so here's where I'm at with the drums so far. I went with Superior Drummer 3 as like my primary engine for programming the drums. Not the only one, but I like it for its ease of use and it's super flexible. I have this little drum pad on my desk that I'll just like tap in the beats as I need to, and it has this great little grid editor in there, which is way better than editing MIDI notes in the Pro Tools lane. As far as the sounds go, I'll give you a very quick overview. I went with a blend of acoustic sounds and electric sounds. I'll go through them very quick. The kicks, there's a couple acoustic kicks and a roomy kick and then an 808 kick. They sound like this independently. Good, that's nice and punchy. Snares, similar approach, but I'm going to feature this splatty 808 kind of electric sounding snare a little bit more. That guy right there. I found, tripped over some other cool sounds, an alternate hat, shaker, claps, an open electric hat, a snappy sound. It's cool. And this evil sounding kick, and this kind of boomy 808-ish kick, and this nasty, gnarly rim click sound. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. The intro is fairly straightforward, like a 4 to the floor type of beat. Sounds like this right now. And I am dirtying it up a little bit with the lo-fi guy, just a touch of saturation and just a touch of EQ. And I have the distressor strapped across it. In addition to that, I'm using the UVI drum designer. Kind of reminds me of the old school FL Studio sequencer. It's super easy to use, and I have this real simple beat with a little bit of delay and this kind of lo-fi-ing stuff going on that I plan on using for the verse maybe, and that's sounding like this. And pretty cool. If I back it up a bar, you'll hear how the Superior drums roll into that. That's cool. That'll make some good way for the vocal and a cool transition. I also deployed those snappy things and those crazy kicks. They sound like this. Yeah, so there you go. That's a good place to start. Okay, again, same thing with the bass. We're going to want to define what we're looking for before we look for it. I'm thinking that we're going to need like a punchy, well-rounded bass. Sub bass, something to support the foundation of it, something to bring it some cut and edge, like a fuzz, distorted, or saturated bass. It'll also help playback on smaller devices like a phone or earpods or something. And I'm sure we'll get the opportunity or two for like a huge cinematic bass sound somewhere. Dig up some pretty cool bass tones. Most of them, or many of them, I found in Falcon. Falcon's a really cool virtual instrument with several different engines. It's super flexible. If you want to get super nerdy about it, you can get in there and change all the oscillators and customize pretty much anything and everything in there. I'll give you a quick overview of what I found or what I dug up out of this. I got this kind of like low-end subby bass right here. That's cool. And then a fuzzy bass. Found this pretty neat bass with an organ kind of layered on top of it. I thought that was pretty neat. And then this trem bass kind of thing. That's super cool. I'm not committed to any particular one of them or all of them or a combination of them yet. I just kind of want them right there in front of me in case I think it later. I think it's fitting. I did find this really cool, vibey, cinematic kind of a bass sound. And I found that in, what is this? Polymax by UAD. I did tweak it a little bit, but here, check this out. I thought this was super cool. I'm excited about it. Man, that's cool. And I also stacked up what I call the thriller bass. It's kind of like a thriller-like sound. Same synth. And then a little extra buzz, fuzzy, distorted bass on top. You put them all together and then use that really cool snappy beat. It comes out like this. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I think that's a good start. Now's a good time to think about lead sounds, right? Because the lead sound kicks off the song. It's right in the intro, and it's a reoccurring theme. So we're probably going to want a few different ones. And what I'll be looking for is something that like just jumps out of the speakers and very exciting to listen to, and maybe have some of that like bit crush element. I was able to craft what I think is a pretty good lead sound using mostly Falcon. It came out like this. Here, check it out. I'll solo it out for you. Yeah, and that guy there is made up of a few different layers too. So what I did is I went into Falcon and I basically like flipped through presets and then started stacking them, and then went in there and kind of got a little dirty with it with the oscillators and really kind of tweaked it so that the timing of everything was feeling good. I'll solo each independent element that's making that up in Falcon here. So here's one. Here's another. It's like super MGMT-like. Yeah, cool. And then all together. Very cool. So I also wanted a version of that was a little bit lighter or lesser than that I could use for like an intro or something. So I was digging through all the synths and everything. I found this guy's Lion, it's called, and it came up with this. Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it does exactly what I was looking for it to do, to just kind of be a little bit smaller and lighter so that when the rest of the song comes in with the bass, the drums, and the big sounding lead, that it just has an impact. I did want to find one more version of a sound to use for that same musical idea because it's a reoccurring theme, and I don't want the listener to get bored of hearing it. So they use it in the verse at one point, and off camera I did start structuring this a little bit. I got a little bit ahead of the video here. Just because I wanted to see how everything was playing out. But here's the third version of that same musical idea I came up with. And I'll solo that out. Oh. And that's got kind of that bit crusher thing going on. And again, that's another Falcon sound. It's just one. That's just a preset. That was an easy one. Pads and synths. I'll pick the low-hanging fruit here first. I know that for the verse, I'm going to want something soft. Maybe not ambient, but something with maybe not a terrible amount of mid-range so that there's plenty of room for the vocal to sit into. I know that the leads that are at the intro and recurring throughout the song, I'm going to need something to support that underneath. And I'm thinking something really generic. And I might intentionally go with something super generic because I might start arranging the song a little bit and just kind of putting some real generic chords in there as temporary placeholders so that I can start bringing the song together and see how it's starting to take shape. All right, so now it's time for the pads and some other things. I wanted to take time at this point to kind of structure out the song and drop some markers in and play parts against one another so I can see if they're complementing each other or not. Now, I've taken some liberties and played a couple chord progressions here and there. It's certainly not going to be formatted the way that Jim wants it just yet, and it's certainly not the way it's going to be performed by Jim. I'm sure he'll use different chord voicings, and I know for a fact that he's currently at home rearranging the song right now. But for now, just so that I can have a palette of things, a palette of sounds to throw at him while he's here actually tracking and arranging the song, I wanted to come up with all these. So one thing that came to mind was I know that there's a counter melody below the lead part in the beginning, and that part sounds like this, that counter melody. And I just went with a string sound, very generic, right out of Falcon. It sounds like this in the mix. I think personally that counter melody is going to be a little challenging to get that idea in there along with all the other stuff, but we'll get it. We'll make it work. The next thing I knew I wanted to do was have like a mellow verse. So I pulled this organ sound out of Falcon. It's real chill, mellow. I think it's perfect. Sounds like this by itself. Then I wanted one with a little bit more edge for the second half of the verse. So I leveraged this Universal Audio B3 model. It sounds great. It's going to come in right here. And I'll solo that. It's just a little bit brighter. It's got a little bit more motion, things going on. And then I wanted like a real generic kind of string sound just so that I can plop the chords and start structuring it out. I mean, it's super generic, but it's going to serve its purpose right now, and that's what this is. And they're just a couple of UAD plugs. Well, let's take a listen to this one. That's nice. And then the other one here. See, I think that one might be more Jim's style. I think he's looking for something more like that. That's about how far I would bring it for now, because in a couple days, Jim's going to come by here and we're going to finalize the arrangement. We're going to get his performances with all the proper chord voicings. We're going to solidify the soundscape. And there is a slight snafu because I do want to record real instruments for this, but not quite yet because Jim's still kind of tinkering around with what key he wants to do it in. So what I did for him is I built like a few different versions of the song with my sloppy copy performances as placeholders. So what I was able to do was I printed the version that I had been making so far, which was in the original key. And then in addition to that, what I did is I took all the MIDI stuff here. It's a pretty easy thing to do, seeing that everything is MIDI and not audio as of right now. I took everything, all the MIDI except for the drums, and if you hit Alt-T on Windows, you get the transpose function. What you could do here is you could just boop, come in here and say, yeah, -1 semitone, hit apply, and then it's down a half step. So I did that. I dropped it a half step. Then I printed a new version. Then I dropped it another half step again, and then printed another version that's down a full step, which gave me these kind of, roughs that I was able to send to Jim. Hey, Jim, check these out. So here's the original key, then one down a half step, and another print down a full step. So in the next video, I'm going to meet with Jim. We're going to solidify the arrangement, the soundscape, and prep the session for vocal tracking. And if we have an extremely productive day, maybe we'll even get our first pass or scratch vocal in.